Okay, for this example, we're going to go over finding the circumference and area of a circle. We want to find the exact value and the approximation using 3.14 for pi. So you have noticed already that the area of a circle can be calculated by doing pi times r squared. So let me go over the what is pi. Pi, it's a Greek number, it's a Greek symbol, and it represents the number 3.14, or 3.14 is one of the approximations that we use for pi. Pi, it's what they call an irrational number, because when you put it in the calculator, the value is 3.1415, and then the numbers after the decimal point keep going and going. So one of the approximations they use is 3.14. So again, pi is just an irrational number, and sometimes we use 3.14 to use for its value. So in this case, we have pi times the radius squared. Now let's remember that the radius goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. So in this case, they are giving us the radius, so r equals 5. So we can just go ahead and plug that in. So a equals pi times 5 squared. That means that a equals 3.14 times, and then 5 squared will be 5 times 5, which is 25. And when we calculate that, we get 78.5, and then it's going to be inches squared. So that is finding the area, right? So all the inside of the circle. Now we want to find the circumference as well. Remember that for the circles, we don't find perimeter because we don't really have sides. What we do is we only have like this circle being connected, right, everywhere. So instead of saying the perimeter, we go ahead and use the term of circumference. So for the circumference, we're also using pi, right? And we are using the radius. So c equals 2 times 3.14 times 5. So when we multiply all of those together, we get 31.4, and then it's going to be inches. Now this is an approximation. Actually, these two are approximations. So instead of using an equal sign, I'm going to go ahead and do like this squiggly equal sign. That means an approximation. They were also asking for the exact value. So whenever they're asking for the exact value, that means we'll leave it in terms of pi. So that means do not plug in anything for pi. So we're going to have a equals pi times 5 squared. So a equals pi times 25. So the area equals 25 pi. So notice how I kept like dragging pi with me over and over to the next step until I couldn't simplify the other numbers anymore. So here it's 25 pi inches squared, and that'll be the exact area. Now for the circumference, it's going to be something really similar. So c equals 2 times pi times 5. So here the two that we can go ahead and multiply is the 2 and the 5. So the circumference is going to be 10 pi and then inches. So again, we don't touch pi, we only bring it down until we get the final answer. So c equals 10 pi inches. Now let's say we have another example, and we have a circle, and then they're giving us the diameter, and the diameter is going to be 8 inches. Well, here again, the diameter equals 8 inches. However, for the area and the circumference, we don't need the diameter. What we need is the radius. So the radius, it's always going to be half of the diameter. Okay, so our radius in this case will be half of A, right? So it's going to be 4 inches. Now that we have the radius, we can go ahead and plug it in the formula for the area and circumference. So we have A equals pi times 4 squared. So A equals pi times 16. So A equals 16 pi. And then inches squared. Or we can also go ahead and plug in 3.14 for pi. So A equals 16 times 3.14. So A is going to be 50. So approximation of 50.24 inches squared. Now for the circumference, we're going to be doing the same thing, but now with the formula of 2 pi r. So we have C equals 2 times pi times 4. So C equals, we can multiply the 2 times the 4, which is 8. So 8 pi and then inches. So that's the exact value. We can do an approximation by plugging in 3.14. So C equals 8 times 3.14. And when we multiply 8 times 3.14, we get 25.12 inches. And there we found the circumference.